Announced Gemini 1.5. It was only last week that we got Gemini Ultra, and this new Gemini 1.5 is actually pretty dang crazy. Now, to start, this new model from Google DeepMind uses the mixture of experts architecture. Now, I talked about this in a previous video. Basically, mixture of experts is where you have a handful of smaller language models. When you give a prompt into the model, it will then decide which of the experts to send that prompt to before getting a response back. This is just a much more efficient way of doing these large language models, because as it sends the prompt to these smaller language models, it only has to process it off of a much smaller set of data. I even put out this tweet back in December that breaks down how the mixture of experts concept works, so I'll link below if you want to learn more about it. But that's not really the part that's so crazy about Gemini 1.5. Gemini 1.0 had a 32,000 token context window, giving you a combined 24,000 words of input and output from the large language model. Gemini 1.5, on the other hand, can now run up to 1 million tokens in production. 1 million tokens is around 750,000 words of input and output text. Put that in some more context, all 7 of the Harry Potter books contain 1,084,170 words. With a 1 million context window, we are this close to being able to upload the entire Harry Potter book series and ask questions about it. It's also got better understanding across modalities. It says here it was given a 44-minute silent Buster Keaton movie, and the model was able to accurately analyze various plot points and events, and even reason about small details in the movie that could have easily been missed. So it analyzed a 44-minute silent film, no text, no transcript, nothing for it to work with on the text side, and was able to analyze the plot points based on the video alone. With that large of a context window and the ability to upload that much text all at once, a lot of large language models tend to lose stuff within the text. With Claude, we have a 200,000 context window, or roughly 150,000 words. Researchers do this test called the needle in a haystack test, where they will take, let's say, 150,000 word piece of text and bury a sentence or a word or something somewhere in the middle of that text. And then they will ask the large language model to answer a question about that little piece of text that they placed somewhere in the middle of this large bank of text. Now, a lot of tools like Claude and ChatGPT struggle to find that little nuanced piece of information in this large amount of text. However, Gemini 1.5, it says right here, in a needle in a haystack evaluation where a small piece of text containing a particular fact or statement is purposely placed within a long block of text, 1.5 Pro found the embedded text 99% of the time in blocks of data as long as 1 million tokens. So again, to put it in the Harry Potter context, it's like putting a single sentence in book 4 of 7 on page 213 and asking the large language model to answer a question about that little snippet that you put in there. And Gemini 1.5 was able to find that 99% of the time in its various tests. So this announcement of Gemini 1.5 alone would have been huge news for this week. I mean, we don't have access to it yet, but it's a big announcement that I'm imagining we're going to have access to really soon. But on the day that this dropped, this was the biggest news in the AI world for like 2 hours. Because then OpenAI stepped in and said, we're not going to let Google have a moment today. We're going to unveil